let's get some reactions on this one now. I have joining me from our Abuja studio, President Buhari, Special Advisor of Media and Publicity, Mr. Femi Adesina joins us from Abuja studio. Thank you indeed, Mr. Adesina, for coming tonight on the program. It's a very big criticism coming, isn't it, for the president and the government under his watch. And if you look at some of the things, it's just a 1 year into his second term. The comments and the criticism is that Nigeria is drifting towards a failed state. How does the president receive this message, and how does the president react to this kind of criticism?
Thank you. Good evening. In a country of about 200 million people, there's no way and no how everybody would think the same way and reason the same way and perceive and conceive things the same way. And woe betide the country that does not have critics, because they could be doing everything wrongly and there will be nobody to point out that, hey, you are going in the wrong direction. So critics have their uses. Criticism has its positive sides. But then, it's not every criticism that you should give you sleepless nights. When such criticism comes, you need to look at it. Isolate what you think is germane, isolate what you think is actionable, and the one that you think is in the realm of politics and is in the realm of preconceived notions. Of course, you have to discard. But there are some criticisms that you don't discard everything. You find what you think you can follow up on, what you think you can adjust, and you adjust.
Mr. Adesina, if you look at the criticism and from those who some of this is coming from, for example, we know that from the recent history, former President Olusegun Obasanjo has criticized the president, Muhammadu Buhari, and his government in the past years. But this time around, a lot of people have said, listen to the message and not the messenger. Is the president diffusing the messenger from the message and taking, perhaps, there's something to learn from what the former president has said. For all we know, that the former president has actually been in that same shoes before.
Yeah, but if you also look at the antecedents of President Obasanjo and the trajectory, you will see that there is no government he hasn't criticized. The only government he has not criticized is the Olusegun Obasanjo government. So, that kind of person has a right to air his opinion, and you also have a right to take it or not to take it. President Obasanjo has criticized every government since the Shehu Shagari government that succeeded him in 1979. And then look at what happened in 2018. He went as far as saying that the horse rider, alluding to the president, must now dismount from the horse, that he should not run in 2019. But President Buhari said, hey, what the heck? He ran and he won. So do you think somebody that had told him, don't run, and the man run, he will still be kindly disposed towards him? He would not. It is in that light that we must situate and see whatever former President Obasanjo says.
But, I mean, if you say that there is being a trend of former President Olusegun Obasanjo's criticism in past government, in this government, what about Professor Wole Soyinka, who, I mean, both men are not, they've never agreed on perhaps one thing, and they seem to have agreed on the fact that under President Buhari, the nation is drifting. What about Professor Wole Soyinka? If you do not agree, or you say, former President Olusegun Obasanjo has the right to criticize, are you listening also to Professor Wole Soyinka?
Like you said in your intro, you know Professor Soyinka even first issued a disclaimer about former President Obasanjo before he made his own comment. Before he agreed with him, he first issued a disclaimer about him. That says a lot about the former president. Now, Professor Soyinka, of course, is somebody we respect. You don't have them too many like that in a country, even on a continent. Professor Soyinka is an icon, is an avatar. We respect him, we listen to him, but then we don't take everything he says hook, line, and sinker. It doesn't happen. There is nobody that says something and everything he says you take hook, line, and sinker. He is an individual. He can make mistakes. He may reason from preconceived notions. And if you look at Professor Soyinka, you know that he had never been a pro-Buhari person. Right from when President Buhari was military head of state. You know, Professor Soyinka had always criticized him in the strongest of terms. And I recall that before the 2015 elections, when he softened a bit, he still came out to say that of the two main candidates in 2015, one was just like a shade better than the other. It was not as if he endorsed the president totally. Sometime in 2016 or 17, he came visiting at the villa. He still was very frank with the president. The president was also very frank with him. Professor Soyinka had always been like that and will always remain so. We will take whatever he says, we'll look at it, the ones that need to be assimilated and ingested, it will be done. And the ones that we see as typical Professor Soyinka, a gadfly, a critic, who is always on the other side of government. Even the government in which he served as the head of the Federal Road Safety Commission, the Babangida regime, he still criticized that government. So if a man is in that mood, when he speaks, look at what he has said, assess it. The ones that you think are germane and well-founded, take. And the ones that you think come from his predisposition as a permanent critic of government, you know what to do with it.
Mr. Adesina, let's pick one after the other, perhaps, if we may analyze the issues that are being raised. For example, Professor Wole Soyinka raised a very disturbing issue. He said Nigeria is more divided than before under President Buhari. Is the president concerned about this sort of statement? Furthermore, when he says that Nigeria is tilting towards a total collapse, that is worrisome. Is it for the president?
Nigeria had always been divided. Always. Right from amalgamation in 1914, Nigeria had always been divided. Nigeria is an inconvenient amalgamation. But we have kept at it, we have worked at it, and I tell you, there is no time in the history of this country that the country was not divided. But then, we had kept at it, we were trying to make it work. As of 2015, when President Buhari came, Nigeria was terribly, terribly divided. Divided along ethnic lines, divided along religious lines, divided along language, divided against political lines, divided hopelessly, terribly. And that is the division that President Buhari had been working at. But you see that a number of people, instead of letting harmony return to this country, thrive and luxuriate in widening the gulf between Nigerians. They play politics with everything. So if they say Nigeria is divided today, it is because Nigeria had always been divided. And all efforts to unite Nigeria and Nigerians have not worked. When Nigerians come to a decision point that we must live together, we can't wish anybody away, we can't wish any ethnicity away, we can't wish any religion away, then we will be working towards being a nation. Professor Soyinka delivered a lecture around 2010, 2011, when he said Nigeria was not a nation. That at best, Nigeria is a conglomeration of different ethnic nationalities. But in terms of the definition of a nation, he said Nigeria was not a nation. Now the question is, was President Buhari in power then, in that 2010 or 2011, when he delivered that lecture and said Nigeria was not a nation? So Nigeria had always been divided. The onus is on us all to make our country work. And those who continue to harp on division are part of the problem, because the harmony that we should arrive at as a country will continue to elude us.
Mr. Adesina, if you look at some of perhaps a very good way for us to wrap up the conversation about these criticisms and the state of the nation, because how those men have described the state of affairs in Nigeria is that Nigeria is gradually moving towards a failed state. But there is a reaction that came early enough from the presidency saying that former President Olusegun Obasanjo is a divider-in-chief and is jealous of President Buhari's achievement. For those who are political analysts will say, are those comments fair, considering that former President Olusegun Obasanjo raised the issue of the economy, and these criticisms are coming on the back, in the heels of fuel scarcity, the hike in fuel price, and also the hike in electricity tariff. Is it fair to say that the former president is jealous of President Buhari's achievement and call him a divider-in-chief?
Well, sometime, was it this year or late last year, I read a comment attributed to the former president when he said that he had ruled Nigeria the longest, that he did 3 years of military rule, he did 8 years as a civilian president, that nobody else can achieve that status and that reputation. I think it was beneath the former president to have said that. Because what do you have in this life that you have not been given? There's nothing you have that you have not been given. All that we have is given us from above. If he ruled the country for 3 years as military and 8 years as civilian, is nothing to boast about. For the former president to have said, well, nobody will attain that status of ruling this country for 11 years, I think it was beneath his status. So the fact that President Buhari himself has done military, he ruled for 20 months, then he's doing 8 years, the former president may be feeling, somebody is coming close to me. I think he didn't need to say what he said in the first place. But then, in the history of the country, President Obasanjo has his place. That is enough. He will continue to have our respect. Don't forget in 2018, when he wrote that letter and he said President Buhari as a horse rider must now dismount, the president particularly told me, he said, Adesina, don't say a word. Don't say a word. Don't respond to him. He said,
Adesina, perhaps, let's conclude the conversation. But in 20 seconds, I would like you to, Mr. Adesina, just a moment. I'd like you to, in 20 seconds, to wrap up this conversation because we need to go on break. And I'd like you to respond to these worries by some of your supporters who have said maybe the president is losing the steam of support that he has gotten in some years back because of the state of things. Is the president worried about this kind of comment and this kind of filler? In 20 seconds so that we can close, Mr. Adesina.
Supported by statistics. If you look at the margin of victory in 2015 and compare it with the margin of victory in 2019, what you have said is not supported by statistics. The president won in 2019 by a wider margin. So that can only be conjecture. It's not supported by statistics.
Mr. Femi Adesina, Special Advisor to President Muhammadu Buhari on media and publicity, thank you so much tonight for coming to react to some of these issues and give us some clarity and clarification. Thank you so much indeed, Mr. Adesina, for coming tonight.
Thank you.